So let's go over our case study for communication skills. So Paul has received his education in a French school environment, which is heavy on written assignments and light on oral engagement. So therefore his English grammar and vocabulary are excellent in paper, but he has a heavy French accent, so he's often misunderstood. In addition, he uses a lot of gestures while speaking, so he looks overexcited and distracts listeners from hearing what he's saying. And his presentations usually have a lot of bullet points, which are confusing, unclear, and boring, instead of a clear graphic or image that people could easily understand. In fact, unfortunately, he relied on his PowerPoint while presenting to do the presentation for him, instead of speaking freely and persuasively and engaging his audience. So he committed a major sin by reading his text word for word, sometimes even with his back to his audience. So your task in this case study is to suggest improvements for Paul to make in his communication. So take a few minutes to look over all the information provided and try to really be as creative as possible and think outside the box. Don't just suggest direct improvements on what he's saying. Try to really come up with over-the-top examples and over-the-top suggestions that really add a personal twist that other people might not come up with. So pause the video now and try to do so, and at this point, we're going to be moving on to the possible answers. So some possible answers. First thing you should do is practice his oral presentations, and while practicing, regulate his hand gestures because he's been hand gesturing a little bit too much. And he should also practice slowing down and enunciating words to reduce accent confusion. So that's one way to really eliminate confusion that results from his accent. And now he needs to focus. Another thing he needs to work on is his relevant graphic aids. So he's having a little bit too much text, so he needs to start using images and graphs where needed. His content is a little bit too heavy, so he needs to practice brevity, which means he needs to limit the slide content. And a rule of thumb that I really like to use when creating presentations to show to other people, maybe in a business format or setting, is 5 bullets and 5 words per bullet. I obviously haven't done that in this course or in this slide right here because there's a lot of information that I need to be able to get across for the sake of teaching purposes, so I do tend to be a little word heavy in my slides just so it's easier for note takers. And he needs to force himself to memorize a presentation. Many of the best presenters do memorize presentations because that means that they've really practiced a lot and they have the content down. So that's one thing that he can do is really memorize presentation rather than reading off of his slide, which is what he's been doing. And the last thing is to practice maintaining eye contact throughout the presentations. In the case study, it said that he turned his back to his audience, which is a sin in the world of presenting. So he needs to really not do that and keep direct eye contact throughout the entire presentation.